Good morning, HEB. You have heard from the well-spoken, the thought-provoking, profound Julia Wilson, and now you got Reba McIntyre. So here we go. I can't think of anything else, really and truly, that I would rather do in the world than teach. But in order to teach, we've got to know who we are. And I know who I am. I have to look at strengths. I have to look at weaknesses. I have to look at failures. I have to look at successes, history, experiences, everything from our past and everything in our present contributes to who we are and to what we're doing and what we're supposed to do. Winston Churchill said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Isn't that really what we're about in HEB? And isn't that what we're about in education and with kids' lives, which is the most important part? When I say that I know who I am, it was very difficult for me to accept a title that said Teacher of the Year, because I know who I am. I am a product of many other people and their strengths. The teams and the people that I'm a part of. What would I do without those people in my life and the contributions? What would I do without my students who teach me new strategies, who come up with new things every week? Every week, y'all. Students, special ed, FACI kids come up with new strategies of things to try, and we try them. And we try them. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But when I got to select a gift from the school that would represent Teacher of the Year to me, and I found the perfect thing. And it is bronze bookends and tug of war. But the name of it is called Pulling Together. And what I love about that is it testifies that I'm just a representative of Bedford Junior High. I'm a representative of all of the schools and people that I have ever worked with or taught with. And they have input into my life. They teach me. The reminder of, Johnson, have you turned in your part 1 and part 2 of your self-evaluation? No. You know, or I go to that science teacher and I say, how do you teach this part? What do you do? What are your ideas that you're using, or where did you get that information? When I go and observe another teacher that I know has great classroom management, and I want to see how they do it because I want to keep growing. See, one wise pastor once said, and this has stuck with me forever, when I'm green, I'm growing. And when I'm ripe, I'm starting to rot. And that's the truth. So you know what? Don't be afraid don't be ashamed of being human. Don't be ashamed of being a learner. Don't be ashamed of being green, because we're growing. We're continuously improving. Have you heard that before? Value and appreciate everything that you can learn from your students and from your peers. Another saying is, if two heads thought alike, one wouldn't be necessary. So love and embrace the differences. Instead of that being a threat or a challenge, love it, because you're going to expand your boundaries and you're going to expand somebody else's boundaries. HEB, I believe, is absolutely the best place with the teaching and learning systems in place for engaging students and staff with intentional and purposeful approach to higher level learning. just on the airplane the other day, getting to share with the family, and I started talking about my district, and they said, I'm so impressed. And I said, I am too. I get to work there. But it's because they have the right things in place. I feel like better than anybody else. You know, students have ownership. Teachers get fresh insight and new ideas. There's communication of goals and of progress and of student responsibilities, and then there's celebration of student success. But there's community. We're working all together to accomplish a goal, to make a plan, to figure out new strategies of what we're going to do and evaluating things. But then there's that individual accountability, just like we learned in balance training. We've got to have that individual accountability for the rest of our lives, where we take responsibility for ourselves and we take responsibility for what we do. Another thing I think that's so important about us as teachers and administrators is to just be intentional. Be intentional and purposeful every day. Abraham Lincoln said the best thing about the future is that it comes only one day at a time. You know, and that's the truth. Some days are terrible and they're so defeating. But then comes a victory. Then comes the aha moment. Then comes something that you go, yes, yes, we did it. You did it. Look at that. You know, remember that. We also have to remember that days, weeks, moments, years are seasons in our lives and in our students' lives. And y'all, sometimes we are the most important season in their lives. You never know when 1 year or 1 semester or 1 trimester is going to turn a life around. You know, I learned that as a PE teacher because I had them in kindergarten. Really, I started early childhood. When I first started, I had early childhood. But I watched them grow every year, and every year I was that teacher that had a brand new hope. This is going to be the year. They're going to get it this year. I never thought, oh, that kid, you know, they're never going to make it, because there was always new hope. And I got to see that as a teacher. I got to watch their progress. I got to see things transform. And I could also be the one that said to that parent, your 6th grade child is not demon possessed. I promise. I promise. You know, they're going to outgrow this. You know, it's going to be okay. They're a great kid. I've known them. I see them. They're going to be okay. In junior high, I just love kids. I love kids because they're different every day. Our job does not get boring, because it is with people. It's with students every day, lots of them. Be willing to get out of your box. Be willing to try something different. We recently had some children that moved in with us in our home, and rap entered the household. And I just was going with it. And one day I thought, you know what? We ought to do a rap to continuous improvement. You know, my kids get it, and FACI, so let's have fun with it. Let's just do something crazy. I'm definitely not a rapper. You can tell by looking at me, I'm not a rapper. That's okay. I don't care, because you know what? I can be who my kids need me to be, if that's what's best for them, and if we're going to accomplish something, if there's an intentional purpose with it. So do that. Get out of your box, and never, never, never give up. Okay, last thought. One day I was walking through the courtyard at Bedford Junior High, and This darling 7th grade teacher, I can say darling because I'm old enough to be his mother, and Jason was walking across the courtyard, and Jason Bond he's just tall, he's just cute, he's just, every time you see Jason in the hallway, it's eye contact, it's a smile, and he speaks to you. Every time. Just love to see him in the hall. That's the only time I ever get to see him. Anyway, one day I was walking by Jason and I said, hey Jason, how's it going? And he answered, living the dream, living the dream. And I laughed, at first, because that was just such a different thing to say. But I'm not kidding you, it stopped me in my tracks. It stopped me in my tracks, and I thought, he's right. I'm living my dream. I am living my dream. I dream of making a difference in somebody's life. I dream of inspiring and cheering on or making a turnaround in somebody's life. I dream of seeing that light bulb go off when somebody gets it, or when we figure out strategies or something that's going to make a difference for the rest of a child's life, even as an adult. Life skills, whatever it is. I get to live the dream every day. You get to live the dream every day. If it's not your dream, find your dream and live it out. But in my case, I'm living the dream, for heaven's sakes.